Hey everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to your fourth stimulus package and news update. We have a lot of news to dive into in today's video, but first, if you would like to receive 5 free stocks from Webull valued up to $8,000, make sure to claim them by clicking my link, which you will find in the description box below. Okay, so I just wanted to start out today's video by briefly talking about the possibility of a blanket forced stimulus check that would be sent out to everyone, just like the first stimulus check, the second stimulus check, and of course the third stimulus check. Now, even though they currently have a bill going on in Congress called the Build Back Better bill, you probably heard me and perhaps other YouTubers discussing this bill. Even though there is definitely a lot of help in this Build Back Better package, such as the extension of the expanded child tax credit, they wanted to go at least 1 or 2 more years at the $250 or $300 monthly payments, depending on the age of your child. And then of course, universal pre-K. Originally, they wanted to have free community college, but that got booted from the bill because that would cost too much and you couldn't get the moderate Democrats on board with the package, with it being below $2 trillion. And then of course, there's some other stuff as well, like if you have an electric vehicle, you can get some credits for that. But regardless, if you have children, this bill could help a lot. Those $250 and $300 monthly payments, they definitely go a long ways for a lot of families. I do realize that. Of course, that is one thing that could also possibly be removed from the package, just because Joe Manchin actually wants the child tax credit to be extended for 10 more years, just so it's around for a longer period of time. And also so Americans can see the true cost of this bill, because if it's going to be around for 10 more years, obviously it's going to cost a lot more than $1.8 trillion to do so. So a lot of Democrats want this to be in there for 1 or 2 more years so they can say, hey, this is only going to cost so much and it's going to be fully paid for, when that's not necessarily the case. So what the progressive Democrats are wanting to do is to extend this credit for 1 or 2 more years. And then after that, year by year, go ahead and extend it into the future. Because if you're giving American families $250 or $300 monthly payments, and they get used to receiving those payments, it's kind of hard to take that away, politically speaking. But Joe Manchin wants to make sure that Americans pretty much know the true cost of the bill, and he wants to pass it more in a bipartisan package where both Democrats and Republicans are on board. And of course, in order to do that, they would need to have 60 votes in the Senate, where right now we have 50 Democrats. That means they would have to have at least 10 Republicans to get on board with some type of increased child tax credit. So originally, the child tax credit was $2,000 per child. With the recent passage of the American Rescue Plan, that increased to $3,000 per year or $3,600 per year. So we'll just have to see if we can get enough Republicans on board to increase it even more from $2,000 up to $3,000 and $3,600, depending on the age of the child. But again, we may not see this in the bill at all. Now, just going back to the stimulus check for just 1 second, there's not going to be another one. There's not going to be like a $1,200 one. There's not going to be a $600 one, or a $1,400 one like there was in the first, second, and third stimulus check. We just have those child tax credit payments, which is probably what you're seeing a lot of YouTubers make their videos on. Whenever I'm on YouTube, I see like 4 stimulus check. Bernie Sanders did it. There's going to be a $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 stimulus check. If those are just clickbaity titles, there's not going to be another stimulus check. And if someone is telling you on YouTube that there is going to be a stimulus check included in the Build Back Better bill, they are simply lying, or perhaps they're just confused and they're seeing this child tax credit payment as a stimulus check, which again, it definitely helps having a $250 or $300 monthly payment sent to your bank account every single month, rather than having to wait until tax season to receive that credit. And of course, it's more than it originally was, so it definitely helps in that way. But as far as stimulus checks being sent out, you're not going to have like a $1,400 check or a direct deposit hit your bank account anytime in the next few months. And there's really no chance of that actually happening unless there's some new variant of COVID where we have to shut everything down. But myself personally, I don't see another big shutdown happening. The hospitalization and death rate, even with this new variant, are still very low. So yeah, people are getting COVID, but they're not getting deathly ill from it, and that's a very good sign. Now, of course, I do want to continue speaking about Build Back Better just for a moment, just because when they get back to Washington in January, they're going to pick up on that bill. Now, the North Dakota Senator Kevin Cramer spoke a bit about where that bill should be headed over the next couple months. Obviously, everyone knows that this bill is going to be completely up to Joe Manchin and which direction he decides to go with the bill. In Cramer's eyes, though, there are probably a few other Democrats who are also opposed to the package, who are probably actually breathing a sigh of relief from Manchin being the one to speak out.
Schumer's going to have perhaps 2 votes. I don't know when. Early January, late January, I have no idea. I think they want to vote on the rule, the legislative process rule, which then allows you to go into the amendments, and then they want to make a final vote. I don't know why. I mean, Senator, the thing is, all they're going to do is keep bashing Joe Manchin. I mean, this is done to discredit Manchin. So I don't really understand the logic. Can you help us?
Well, I can't understand the logic, certainly from a political standpoint, because it's much disfavor as the whole Biden socialist agenda is enjoying, I guess, across the country. I don't know why they'd want to continue it, except that Chuck Schumer has people pulling and pushing and tugging from every possible direction, and I'm sure he's wondering what direction to go. But I do know this, that Joe Manchin may have saved the re-election of 2, 3, or 4 possibly Democratic senators who are, who would have had to vote yes on BBB, on Build Back Better, but would rather not have voted at all. They were awarded this opportunity to give it a pass for a year, and yet they just seem hell-bent on doing it. And maybe there's a whole bunch of Democratic members willing to be martyrs at the altar of socialism. If that's the case, maybe they'll find a way to vote on it yet and further lead to their political demise while destroying the country.
Cramer also makes an interesting comment that Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is actually being pushed pretty strongly by one of the representatives in his state, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, to push some of these pieces of legislation through. Cramer believes that Schumer normally wouldn't be for these huge spending bills, but due to the pressure from his more left-leaning colleagues, he's being pushed into moving these bills along.
Well, Senator, it just occurs to me, in terms of Chuck Schumer's legislative and political strategy, that he may not be calling the shots. AOC may be calling the shots. What some people call Sandy Cortez, the House member, who may run against Schumer in the primaries in New York. But, I mean, he's kowtowing to her and her group. That's what it sounds like.
I don't think there's any question, Larry, that in the back of Chuck Schumer's mind, every move he makes, every vote he calls, he's thinking about AOC and the possibility that she'll run against him in a Democratic primary in New York. I do think that's one of those pressure points I talked about earlier. Now, in addition to that, of course, he's got a White House that's tugging at him. He's got Speaker Pelosi that's pulling. They're all responding to those very same pressure points. But it is, in my mind, what's such a great tragedy about it is that a once great Democratic Party has become this bizarre socialist agenda where they seem to be putting all the chips on the table this year while they have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. And thank God for Joe Manchin and others like him, but especially Joe Manchin, who has, trying to save America, and in the process may very well save the Democratic Party.
Well, I don't think I'll save the Democratic Party, but I think all of us will help save America. I mean, yeah. Kevin, the country hates this bill, okay?
Yes,
the country just hates this bill.
So pretty interesting stuff from Cramer. And again, whether Build Back Better ends up ever passing and what all is included in it is going to be completely up to Joe Manchin. It doesn't matter how much progressive Democrats push him to include things like an extension of the child tax credit for just 1 or 2 more years. He's made clear, at least up to this point, that he won't be swayed by anyone in his party. After all, in his own words, he's a senator in West Virginia, representing only West Virginia, and he won't be intimidated by anyone else. So we'll just have to see how everything goes. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, if you did make it all the way through, I definitely appreciate all of your support. And if you did enjoy the content in today's video, I would greatly appreciate if you would give this video a like, a big thumbs up, as that does definitely help out with the YouTube algorithm. And until next time, as always, I'll see you in the next video.